Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Athena if you're new here, and I make videos about hiking, camping and all things outdoor adventure. In this video I'm going to be talking about doing my mountain leader training, which I completed last week in Snowdonia National Park. So to start off with, what is the Mountain Leader Award? It is a scheme here in the UK designed for people who want to lead groups in the mountains. It's recommended that you have at least 1 year of hill walking or mountain walking experience before you sign up for the award, and then the way it works is you sign up through the Mountain Training Association website for £49. Then you're supposed to log 20 quality mountain days, which I'll talk a little bit more about later, before doing your training. You can then book onto a training course, which is what I did last week, through either an independent provider or maybe some organisation like Plasy Brennan in Wales or Glenmore Lodge in Scotland. And then you're supposed to log at least another 20 quality mountain days, so you should have a minimum of 40 altogether. And of course you go off and you practice all your navigation and all your skills, and then you do your assessment and hopefully you pass, and that means that you're able to take groups or individuals out walking in the mountains. I've actually been wanting to do my Mountain Leader Award for about 3 years, but of course life gets in the way sometimes and it doesn't always work out. But during lockdown I finally decided to sign up to my training, logged a few of my quality mountain days that I'd done over the past 3 to 4 years. The reason that I want to do mine is kind of actually since growing more on YouTube, I had a lot of people asking if I do actually guide people in the mountains, or if at some point I might be interested in doing group walks or retreats, which I definitely would like to do. So it's kind of a step in that direction of maybe doing that kind of thing. I also wanted to do it for personal reasons, because I really wanted to feel confident in my own navigation skills and all the skills that you need to be comfortable and competent in the mountains. So it was both of those reasons that I decided to do it myself. I booked my mountain leader training with Tully of Freedom Outdoors, who was absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed the course. I'll just say that before you even watch the video. But in this video I'm going to give you a bit of a day-by-day breakdown of what we got up to, what I learned, what I need to work on, and yeah, all the ins and outs of doing the Mountain Leader training course.
Oh no, here it comes again, those words aimed at my chest. See, I'd like to steal a dozer, I would level out my past, just leave what I've done best. You'd bring me straight back to my darkest day, when words rain down so hard. I must have fallen asleep riding on the train, or walked to find the dark rail yard. See, I never meant to come this far, I lost myself.
Hello from Snowdonia, Wales. It is Monday morning, about 7:15 I think. Stayed in the van last night, and I'm doing my mountain leader training this week in Wales. I actually had my first solo night in the van last night, which was okay actually. I was really nervous. Kind of found this nice spot that a friend recommended to me, so I'm kind of backed onto a lake in a car park with woods behind me. It's really beautiful. I've just been for a swim, early morning, 6:30 AM swim. So essentially we started at the end point of what it would be like if we were qualified as mountain leaders and taking clients out into the hills. Because there were a lot of thunderstorms forecast, we decided to stay fairly low and we went up Mount Ailio, which is just behind Clanberis. We were focusing on navigation in a way that was quite natural, so not constantly checking your map, which isn't what you really want to do when you're with clients, and also kind of conversation starters. So we were talking a lot about flora, fauna, history, the landscapes, all that kind of thing. We also talked a little bit about group management and how to manage group of varying speeds and paces. We ended the day by doing some micro navigation, so that meant that Lou would give us a spot on the map where she wanted us to navigate to, and we would use our maps to get the team to that point before getting caught in a massive thunderstorm. Actually, luckily we timed it quite well and we were already on the descent, so we were out of harm's way at that point, but we all got pretty drenched before heading back to our kind of classroom where we met up that morning. And we had a little presentation on weather in the evening. The weather was definitely something that I found quite tricky, and in my mind I was like, oh, I just need to go away and learn this. I think if you study geography you might understand it a little bit more, but for me it was just lots of squiggly lines on a map that I really need to learn. So that is the first thing that I'll be going away and practicing a lot of.
But it's absolute.
On day 2 we met in Capel Curig and basically spent the whole day doing some more in-depth navigation. So we started off by doing some basic compass skills like setting our map, rotating the map, and then we started navigating by just looking at features of the map. So Lou would say, we're going to this point, what should you be looking for? How far are you going? What's going to be there when you arrive at your point? That kind of thing. So encouraging us to be looking at all the features of the map. And it was quite interesting because I think I usually look for the same things on a map, stuff like boundaries or woodlands or water sources. I don't often look at terrain, so that was definitely a learning point for me. After that we did some slightly more advanced compass skills like bearings, so we practiced taking bearings in different directions. We then looked at contour lines and pacing. After that we kind of brought it all together and did some more of the micro navigation that I mentioned from the day before, but this time it was a little bit more technical because we weren't on footpaths, so we really had to navigate in terrain that was quite wild. They were definitely challenging conditions on that day, and not for the reasons that you might expect for North Wales. It was incredibly hot and humid and there was no shade whatsoever, so it was quite hard going being out all day. Practicing in those conditions is all part of the Mountain Leader Award. You have to be able to navigate in the cold, in the wet, in the wind, in low visibility and in the heat as well. So it was a good experience to have to manage in those conditions. On day 3 we had a day of managing clients on steep terrain, so we met at Ogwen Cottage, and then on our walk in to Llynidwal we did a lot of practicing of how to kind of encourage clients to practice on rock, how to also get to know whether or not a client is comfortable on rock as well. And then we headed over to the Idwal slabs and went up a gully just next to it called Seniors Gully, which is a grade 1 scramble, and we did kind of like a simulation of taking clients up the gully, practicing how to manage clients going up that kind of terrain and whether or not it's even appropriate to do so in some situations. This was probably my favourite day. I found the scramble super fun. It made me really want to go and do loads of big climbs and scrambles in Snowdonia, but obviously I was also focusing on learning and how to deal with people that aren't as comfortable on the rock. We then were met with a massive thunderstorm as we were descending back down to Llynidwal. Luckily we were already on the descent, we were already in our waterproofs, and I basically ran back down the path which had become a bit of a waterfall back to Ogwen Cottage. Day 4 was all about rope skills, so we headed up into the hills and kind of set up camp for the day, and we're practicing a few different rope skills that you need for hill walking. Actually, as a mountain leader, you really shouldn't have to ever get a rope out when in the hills. It's really a kind of worst case, last case scenario type thing. Really, you want to be on terrain that your clients are really comfortable with, but you also need to know how to do the skills that we learn just in case you get into a situation that you don't want to be in. So we learned how to belay clients down a rocky section, and then we also learned how to abseil ourselves down the rocky section, which was very interesting. The method I chose was called the South African, which I think I have a video of, if not a photo. And because it was so hot and we were wearing quite minimal layers, it really was quite painful on my skin, basically the rope just burning. I can't believe that old school mountaineers used to do that kind of thing on massive mountains. It is kind of insane. And then finally, days 5 and 6 were the expedition. So we met at Cafe Guinant in the morning, where I had breakfast first, which was very nice. All packed for wild camping in the hills, and headed out doing some navigation with the 1 to 50,000 map. So that is this map here. Now, I found 1 to 50 nav really quite difficult. It's definitely something that I'm going to have to practice. Essentially, a lot of the features that you have on a normal 1 to 25,000 map aren't present. So things like boundaries, open access land, certain watercourses aren't there, certain footpaths aren't there. There are a lot of things that aren't on the map, which makes it very tricky, and it means that you really have to focus on contour lines and gradient. So as the day went on, I started to get a little bit more into the swing of it, but my first task was to navigate us to a certain point, which was really difficult. I thought I was on the right track, I thought I was going the right way, and I was. Luckily we didn't go the totally wrong way, but at some point I realized that the path wasn't where I thought it should be, and that's because the path actually wasn't where it should be on the map. The map showed it as being in the valley, whereas we were on the hillside. So Jeff then showed me how to take a bearing off different watercourses and figure out by looking at the terrain where we should be. It was definitely very difficult though, I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely something that I'm gonna have to go away and practice. So we navigated using the 1 to 50,000 map all the way to our wild camp spot, where we had a little bit of chill time, had a little wash in the stream, cooked up some dinner, had a chat about camping and walking and all things like that. And then come 9:30 p.m, when it was just starting to get dark, we got all ready again to head out on our night nav. Night nav was another thing that I found really difficult, especially as it got darker and darker and you essentially couldn't see anything, and at the same time we were all getting tireder and tireder. We were navigating until 1 a.m. after being out all day in the hills, so it was pretty full on, but it's a really good experience to practice navigating in those conditions where you are tired and not quite 100%. You still need to be able to navigate, both for yourself and for when you're with clients as well. So we got into bed at 1 a.m. and we're up at about 6:30 the next morning to a really beautiful sunrise, and we were out of camp by 8:30 I think, where we navigated back out to our starting point. We then changed into a different pair of shoes, ready to go and do some practice of river crossings, which we had to modify slightly for COVID reasons, but we still learned a few different methods of doing river crossings. Finally, we headed back down to Clanberis, where we had a debrief with Jeff and Lou and said all our goodbyes for the end of the trip. So now that I've done my training, I need to go away and practice all of the skills I learned, as well as get loads of experience walking in the mountains and get loads of quality mountain days in before doing my assessment, which I'm not quite sure when I'm going to do it yet, but I'm thinking maybe spring or summer next year. Because I'm probably going to be talking about quality mountain days or QMDs quite a lot over the next few months, I thought I'd explain what it is. I've got it up on the mountain training website because a quality mountain day has to fit a few different criteria. It's kind of a case, as far as I understand, of it's quite subjective. So if you and your assessor think it is worthy of being a quality day in the mountains, then it is a quality day in the mountains. But I'll just read a few of the criteria for you. So the individual takes part in the planning and leadership. Navigation skills are required away from marked paths. Experience in terrain and weather comparable to that found in the UK and Irish hills. There are actually only a few areas in the UK that count as the mountainous areas. You've got Snowdonia, the Brecon Beacons, the Lake District and Scotland. So unfortunately for me, because I live in the Peak District doesn't count. But that doesn't mean that I can't get a quality mountain day in the Peak District if it is worthy of meeting other criteria. For example, it might be really difficult conditions, weather conditions, it might involve a lot of navigation away from marked paths, that kind of thing. Knowledge is increased and skills practiced, 5 hours or more, and ascent to a substantial peak. You don't have to meet all of those criterium, but you should meet a few of them for it to be considered as a quality mountain day. I've whizzed through this video. I hope I have answered everything that you maybe wanted to know about the mountain leader training. I think I might make a video, if you guys are interested, about what I packed for the mountain leader training course, because I was kind of comfortable and really happy with all the gear that I packed. And I also think that when you're going to do something like mountain leader training, you want to know that all your gear works. So I took the gear that I consider to be my most reliable gear, so that might be interesting for you guys to know what I took. So let me know if you do want to see that. I just wanted to say thank you so much to Lou and Jeff for an amazing course. I would definitely recommend doing a course with Lou Tully of Freedom Outdoors, and I'll put all her links down below. Both Lou and Jeff were super approachable, really amazing to learn from, and I was very lucky to also have an amazing group who I'm hopefully going to be meeting up with and doing some quality mountain days in the UK over the next few months. So yeah, exciting times ahead. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do ask me any questions down below. Please give it a like if you liked it, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.
Absolute